Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte said she will not run for a national post in 2022.
The presidential daughter said she will no longer vie for the presidency, as she and her father have agreed that only one of them will run for a national position in 2022.
Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte says she will not join the 2022 presidential race, but speculations are high that she may use the same playbook as her father's, who had stated that he was not running but went on to win the presidency in 2016. Is Mayor Sara Duterte bluffing and is actually revving up for her campaign? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to this special edition of The Chiefs. I'm Robbie Alampay, and also with us are Ed Lingao of One News and Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star. Chiefs, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday, although, sorry to dampen the spirits again, but Ami, this is, the numbers came out a bit late today, but we're now at 22,820 new cases today, no? But there's something to be said about that, Kasi remember yung kahapon, mababa yung numbers kahapon. Earlier in the day, they announced na we'll fix the numbers from yesterday kasi merong technical glitch. There's 5,000 na hindi na idagdag doon, so naidagdag nila. But that sort of gave people a hint na mukhang mataas yata ngayon because they didn't used to do that. Diba? They didn't used to correct the previous day. Diba? So this was sort of
mababa tayo pag di ba sinasabi na nga natin yon Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
No, but in any case, if they had not,
Tsaka po, I think it's important to I think it's also important to look at the positivity rate more than the actual numbers. Kasi your positivity rate tonight is 29.4. So we're nearing 1 out of every 3 people being tested turning up positive. That's the highest we have so far.
Tumataas talaga. In any case, it's still another record high. But tonight we'll talk about one of the hotter stories also today, not COVID, politics. We begin tonight with Mayor Frasco of Liloan, Cebu. She is also the spokesperson for Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio. Good evening, Mayor Frasco.
Evening, Mayor.
Hello. Good evening. Maayong gabi.
Maayong gabi po. Kanina kausap ko si Mayor Frasco sa big story. Baka wag po kayo magalit. Uulitin ko yung tanong ko. Kasi kanina, yun yung tanong ko. Categorical ba talaga yung sinabi ni Sara Duterte na hindi siya tatakbo? Or was it contingent on her father running? Because right now, as of the moment, as it stands, he says he will run. But what if he doesn't run? Does that mean that that opens the door again for Sara Duterte? Mayor Frasco.
To quote Mayor Sara, she specifically and categorically said, I will not run for any national position in 2022.
Pero ma'am, I thought that was with the condition or the precondition or the presumption that ayaw nila na dalawang Duterte ang tatakbo. Hindi ho ba yun ang premise ng kanyang statement na she is not running for national because as they promised that they will not want to have 2 Dutertes running?
Well, the condition has occurred, which is that PRRD has declared that he will run for vice president. And this condition of him running for vice president being present, then their agreement sets in, which is that only one Duterte will run for a national position in 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, earlier today, there were also reports na i-confirm lang namin that Mayor Duterte Carpio also will not support or will not help in the campaign of her father and Senator Bongo in case that tandem pushes through. Is that accurate? Is there actually that kind of categorical statement na she will not support?
Mayor Sara's statement on this was, I will not share my light at this time. In 2019, we saw how effective Mayor Sara was as a campaigner that led to the successful candidacies of many senators. But this time around, as far as the PDP is concerned, decision po ni Mayor Sara is she will not involve herself in any national campaign.
Is that because she does not belong to the PDP laban? Ano po yung major reason for that? Because after all, that's her father.
Well, yes, PRRD is her father, and their relationship remains strong, being a father-daughter relationship. But politically speaking, Mayor Sara is not a member of the PDP. She's not a member of any national party. Rather, she's a member of HNP. And it's totally within her prerogative not to participate in a national campaign at this time.
Ma'am, balikan ko lang yung tanong ni Robby kanina. Kasi, sorry po, a little bit of paghihimay. Kasi iba po yung conditional na hindi na ako tatakbo dahil as promised, we do not want two Dutertes to be running. Iba po yung ganon. Iba po yung talagang hindi ako tatakbo, period. And that's more absolute. Which is it po? Is it the conditional na I am not running because two Dutertes are running? Or is it the absolute na talagang wala akong balak tumakbo at all, whether or not my father is running?
Well, the fact of the matter is Mayor Sara and the President made an agreement that only one Duterte will run in 2022. And Mayor Sara, being true to her word and trustworthy to keep her word, is doing just that. Since the President has decided to run, she will not run for any national post.
Yes, ma'am. But the follow-up question to that is if the President does not push through with his plan to run, kasi anything can happen between now and November 15. Actually, hindi nga October 8, November 15, which is the substitution day, last of substitutions. If the President decides not to run, does that mean that all bets are off? Maaaring tumakbo si Sara Duterte?
Well, that's a hypothetical situation. And I think that it's more important to focus right now on the actual facts on the ground, which is that the President has declared he is running. As far as I know, he has not changed his mind. And so the condition, the circumstances will not change as well as far as Mayor Sara is concerned.
Yeah, but you understand, ma'am, where this question is coming from, because as you said, as far as you know, he has not changed his mind. But the reality is he has a history of changing his mind, particularly on running or not to run. So doon po nanggagaling. In any case, I won't press that. I'm more curious about, sinabi rin po ni Mayor Sara na okay lang, hiwalay naman ng politika sa pamilya sa amin. But this question has been hanging for weeks already. I'm just wondering about the dynamics between Mayor Sara and the President, her father, over the past weeks. Habang nalalapit na itong petsa na to, everybody was looking for September 8. Everybody knew that PDP Laban was going to announce. I was just wondering, in the days, in the weeks running up to that, did they have this constant conversation and consultation with each other?
Not that I'm aware of. And as far as I know, with Mayor Sara, there is her relationship with PRRD as her father. And there's also the political relationship with PRRD being the president and Mayor Sara being mayor. And I think there is a very clear distinction between both.
Some time ago, there was a statement as well from Mayor Sara na directed at her father and Senator Bongo na keep me out of your decision making. Ano ba yung dynamics doon? Particularly between the mayor and Senator Bongo. Kasi lahat nagsasabi na there is no friction naman daw between them. Pero ano ba talaga yung situation between them? Because Senator Bongo is seen as the closest aide of the president. Ano yung situation between him in particular and Mayor Sara?
Well, I think that the situation is as what she had described it, which is that she and the president had a conversation about the interest of the president and Senator Bongo as far as 2022 is concerned. And Mayor Sara fully respects that. And the result of that now is the situation at this time wherein she has decided to respect the wishes of her father, the president, and fully understands also where he and Senator Bongo are coming from as far as their plans are concerned. So I don't think there's much to be read into it, only that Mayor Sara has taken her position and does not want to be involved in any intramurals concerning 2022, especially as it concerns the candidacies of other people and not her own.
Yeah, Mayor Frasco, maybe it might be worth just recalling, if you don't mind, Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio's position that I will not run if my father is running is a principled position on her part. But if you could remind us, what are the principles at play here? What is the higher principle that tells her to tell the Filipino people that you cannot have two Dutertes running for the two highest positions in the land?
Well, Mayor Sara has always been governed by the principle of public service. And whether it's in her capacity as mayor or in any other capacity, she has it in her heart to serve the Filipino people. Nasa puso niya ang pagsisilbi sa mga kababayang Pilipino. And in the end, no, notwithstanding the circumstances, that will not change her desire to serve. But she has to also fully respect the agreement that she made with her father, which is that if one Duterte runs, then the other will not. To be clear, Mayor Sara has previously expressed an openness for a national position. And that was when she came here to Cebu to seek consultations with local leaders, for which she was very positively received. And with that, nakita natin that she was willing to listen to the desires of the people. And we've seen from one survey to another that the desires of the people is for her to become the next president of the Philippines. Personally, I believe she still is the next great hope for our country. But of course, we have to respect her decision as well as the decision of her father. And hopefully, we are all the better for it. And she continues to hope for a better Philippines along with the rest who are yearning for hope in 2022.
Ma'am, if I may be more precise as to why I asked that question, because people were already criticizing them, anticipating a Duterte-Duterte tandem. People were already criticizing that this is a dynasty in the making. This is a family perpetuating itself in power. This is undermining the spirit of the Constitution to work against dynasties and prolonging people in power. So I asked that question specifically to remind us, when she said that hindi pwedeng dalawang Duterte ang potential maging presidente at vice president, was she acknowledging na tama yun? Hindi pwedeng magmukha tayo ditong we're perpetuating ourselves in power and that we are setting up a political dynasty?
Frankly speaking, the term political dynasty is really a misnomer because the position is not exactly handed down from one family member to another, but rather it goes through the rigorous and democratic process of election. In the end, yung taong bayan yung magsasabi kung sino yung gusto nila.
That's fair enough.
President.
That's fair enough. But what is it a concept? Is it part of the principles upon which she made her decision na hindi pwedeng tayong dalawa?
You know, as far as Mayor Sara is concerned, as I know her, she has the will and the desire to serve. And she happens to be the daughter of the president, but she is her own person. A lot of people, certain people and groups make issue out of political dynasties, but even the surveys would indicate that the most preferred tandem is a Duterte-Duterte tandem. It is, however, Mayor Sara's personal preference, as well as the president's, that only one Duterte run in 2022. And that's a decision made by the family, not necessarily to say that several family members occupying public positions is wrong, but rather it's a personal decision on their part. that only one Duterte will run in the national polls. After all, they're also still in service in Davao, and their constituency also desire a continuation of service of the Dutertes in Davao. So certainly they're not limited to serving in a national capacity alone.
So Mayor, at this point, Mayor Sara intends to run for mayor again?
Yes, she still has one more term as Davao Mayor.
Okay.
Just to qualify that, is that the same thing as saying that she is running for mayor in 2022, or that's up in the air?
She still has one more term, so
Yes, ma'am.
since she's not running for a national position, then the local position is open for her, and that is the position that she will be running for.
Mayor.
Okay, so she's running for mayor again of Davao City in 2022. That is for
As
certain.
far as
right?
I know, yes.
Yes. Among the supporters, have you given up on her running for president? Or is there still an active effort to persuade her to change her mind?
You know, honestly, with the massive support all over the country for Mayor Sara to run, I honestly think that will not die down anytime soon. And I'm sure a lot of people are saddened by this news. But we have to respect her decision. And I personally still harbor the hope that she will lead our country one day, perhaps not in 2022, but certainly one day.
Okay. Lilawan Mayor Cristina Frasco. Maraming salamat po. Mayor Frasco is also spokesperson for Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio. Maraming salamat po, Mayor.
Salamat po.
Ingat po kayo.
Daghang salamat.
Please stay with us. The Chiefs will be right back. Welcome back to Chiefs here on One News. Now joining us is Dr. Ronchin Solante, member of the Vaccine Expert Panel. Good evening, Dr. Solante.
Hi, good evening, Robbie. Good evening to everyone.
Hi, sir. Thank you po.
Dr. Solante, kanina lang pinag-uusapan natin, we're now at 22,000, practically 23,000. And as Ed was pointing out, the positivity rate is now almost at 1:3, practically 30% today. Let's talk about first this decision to extend. Status quo muna tayo, hindi muna tayo mag-GCQ. We were talking to you just a couple of days ago. How do you feel about the current situation and also the decision of government to reverse itself on the to go to GCQ?
Well, at this point in time, the 2 week or the 1 week extension.
1 week, sir.
1 week extension, yes, no. Hopefully, it will help us, no, healthcare workers, because what I'm looking now, and this is the experience on the ground, no. We still continue to get new cases, more severe cases. Healthcare workers are also very tired. A lot of healthcare workers do have also been sick with COVID and other sickness. And that's the thing that I'm so worried about on our side.
In the meantime, Doctor, the Metro Manila Council has approved I think it's a resolution or statement calling on the government to allow to ease restrictions on fully vaccinated individuals. Not exactly a bakuna bubble, no, but to ease restrictions. What do you think of that suggestion?
Well, that's a good suggestion, no? Ang tingin ko lang dyan, the population that has been vaccinated are not that big yet, no? So baka mayroong mangyayaring discrimination on that aspect dahil nakikita ko kasi yan pag in-restrict natin yung mga unvaccinated, mas marami ang unvaccinated over the vaccinated, okay? And if you look at that way, then we are restricting a lot of these people in terms of hanap buhay, in terms of freedom to go out, no? Medyo ticklish na issue yan, no? Unless talagang meron ng mga bakuna, kasi if you make it that way, then you have that motivation na hindi pa ako bakunado, meron na palang ganito, magpabakuna ako. Pag pupunta sila sa vaccination center, walang bakuna, what can we offer? No? So yun lang yung, it's a good idea. In fact, other countries are doing that, no? Kasi may advantage ka kung bakunado ka, you're less to transmit the infection, you are also protected compared to the unvaccinated, and then less of the cases ang makikita natin with those vaccinated kaysa yung unvaccinated nasa labas, no? But yun lang yung ano ko doon na vaccination is still limited, hindi pa marami ang available na bakuna. Baka magka-problema tayo doon.
But in
For
terms,
example, sir, sa Cebu kasi they've already put that in effect eh. EO lang ang ginamit, hindi man lang dinaan sa IATF eh. So may bakuna na sila sa Cebu. You can only dine in kung ikaw ay may at least one dose ng bakuna. Your thoughts on that? There are LGUs that are doing it unilaterally.
Yeah, so yun lang din, no? Kasi we may have been also limiting, no, the freedom of these people na in the setting na limitado ang bakuna. We need to balance, no? Kung if we are doing that, then we should be having also more vaccines to offer. Kasi ang nakikita ko dyan, no? Halimbawa, pupunta ka sa restaurant tapos gusto mong kumain doon, no? Hindi ka fully vaccinated. So you have that incentive, kasi gusto kong kumain, magpabakuna ako. This is one way of me having that freedom because ang kapalit nito, yung pagbakuna, you can go out, no? So yun lang yung issue ko dyan, no? Until such time na marami tayong bakuna, we can do that. Siguro pag maganda ang supply ng bakuna.
Dr. Solante, you're an infectious disease expert. Can you talk to us a bit more about the positivity rate? I mean, of course, we know. I mean, the higher, the worse off we are. But you know, we've been counting from, you know, it used to be 1:5, naging 1:4, ngayon 1:3. At a certain point, I mean, what changes other than just looking at the numbers and the fractions?
Okay, again, coming from the ground also, no, based on experience sa mga pasyente, no, mataas talaga ang hawaan ngayon. I do expected these numbers, no, dahil when you have a virus that is highly transmissible, you have higher secondary attack. Okay, ano bang ibig sabihin yan? One individual can infect another several persons. Sa tingin ko kasi ngayon, ang point of exposure ng isang tao pag lumalabas, ang dami no? Paglabas niya, nandun sa workplace, nandun sa transportation, pagbalik niya, the same exposure. Tapos, pupunta siya sa bahay, longer ang stay niya sa bahay. Kaya nakikita natin ngayon, ang household secondary attack is higher than that than the workplace. No? Kasi nandun ka, tumatagal ka. No? So, ano ang importante dito is really, we need to do more, no? We need to do more. Active case finding, hindi lang yung ikaw yung may sakit tapos mag-report ka sa LGU. LGU should be more proactive, like house to house, looking at every person in the barangay, kung sinong may sintomas, and then testing them as soon as possible time na makukuha nila yung test, they can do the contact tracing. Ang haba ngayon ng Robbie, no? Sabihin ko lang to sa'yo, no? 4 days, 5 days, matest ka. 4 days, 5 days, makuha mo yung result. Doon pa lang mag-umpisa ang contact tracing. The enormous number of people na get in contact with that particular index case, sa 5 days na yan, ang dami na yan, no? So, yun ang isang ang limitations natin ngayon sa pagkontrol.
Ang isa pa ngayong problema with the community transmission of Delta, dumadami yung mga minors pediatric infections, no? In one orphanage, 99 minors were no? So ang balak daw ng gobyerno by October, umpisahan na yung vaccination of younger people. Kapag natuloy yun, kung sakali matuloy yun, will you recommend na mag-resume o dumami yung mga pilot areas? They're planning for the resumption of face-to-face classes as soon as possible.
Ito lang talaga, Ami, ang ano ko dito, no? The more that we can vaccinate, the more we can ease also the restriction, and the more we can accept the face-to-face, no? With vaccination. So, if the plan of the government is really to put more vaccines and prioritizing this population, yung vulnerable, and then yung sa economic frontliners, and then yung mag face-to-face meeting, including classes, as long as everyone is vaccinated, I can accept that, no? Importante talaga ang bakuna.
Pero kailangan, gusto nyo marami talaga. I mean, in schools, teachers, students alike.
Yes, definitely, no? Because they're also at risk. Maraming point of exposure and contact ang mga estudyante pagpunta pa lang sa school, pagbalik nila, no? So that's still a risk of exposure.
Pero hindi ba problema yung breakthrough infections, especially among children?
Okay, ang breakthrough infections kasi nakikita na natin ngayon, no? With high efficacy vaccines, no? It can still get the infection, no? But most of the time it's just mild. Pero pag wala kang bakuna, no? Based doon sa mga data namin sa mga hospitals, pag wala kang bakuna, nandun mo talaga nakikita the difference between a mortality and survival, okay, is vaccine. So majority of those in the severe critical stage and who died are still those individuals who doesn't had any vaccine compared to those vaccinated where they can still develop the infection but majority are mild. Unless na lang, no, yung talagang matanda na highly vulnerable and vaccine is nabigay pero mataas pa rin ang rate ng mortality.
Doc, in the meantime, sa side po ng mga frontliners sa ospital, where you work, ano pong sitwasyon? How is the morale and what is their sense of where all of this is going?
Well, alam natin na deep within, no, sa mga the way they speak, the way they behave, nandun na talaga yung pagod, no? And ang ano lang naman sa kanila is that as long as there is support from the administration sa hospital, no, support from the colleagues, no, and of course lahat naman nagtutulong-tulungan, no. Ang nakikita lang natin ngayon even healthcare workers nagkakasakit and even yung bakunado na rin nagkakasakit. So sometimes malaki ang ano dito, ang impact, no, kasi halimbawa nagkakasakit yung healthcare worker. So we have to isolate him for 14 days, no? And that will also disrupt the function of the whole area kasi magkulang ka ng 2, 3 dyan, tapos ang matira na lang 3. Kukuha ka ng ibang tao sa ibang area. So that means magiging kulang ang capacity natin to serve the patient.
I know we don't have enough vaccines yet, pero there's talk all over the world about giving booster shots. Nag-umpisa tayo mga bandang March, di ba? Kung tayo magbo-booster, for example, simulan natin yung Sinovac, marami-rami na yun eh. At what point do you think we should administer from the second dose? Mga ilang buwan?
Yes, no, ang data kasi nung pinag-aralan namin yan, no, especially with Sinovac, talagang bumaba yung tinatawag natin na protection, no? Yung tinatawag natin na neutralizing antibody significantly on the 6th to the 8th month after the second dose, no? So yun yung nakikita natin, and expected yan na may mga breakthrough infections yan for those individual na nagka-Sinovac. And we also experienced that, no, dito sa healthcare natin, no. Ang maganda lang, mas marami pa rin na magka-infection ng breakthrough with Sinovac. Mild pa rin ang manifestations. Mangilan-gilan, may mga severe na rin kami, pero in general, no, hindi pa ganun kataas yung severe compared to those who did not receive any vaccine.
So kung
Sir, you were-
6 to 8 months.
Yes.
Sir, you were earlier quoted as saying, or at least you were earlier quoted as pushing for giving booster shots na immediately to healthcare workers. Let me ask you first if that's accurate, and secondly, is there any policy already on that matter? Is there any consensus already among the vaccine expert panel on that matter?
For our group, no, sa vaccine expert panel, that's where we made our recommendation na nakitaan natin na bumaba talaga yung protection, no, with Sinovac. And in fact, in the context na we need to protect the healthcare workers because the front line, it can disrupt the function of the healthcare facility sa dami ng magkakasakit. That's our rationale, no, why we need that, no. And otherwise, it's not our decision naman to make it parang ibigay, no. It's still with the Department of Health that will really be the final decision maker if they will do that or follow our recommendations.
Yes, sir. So there is a recommendation now already from the expert panel to give booster shots na PISA to the healthcare workers.
Yes.
And sir, at this point, the findings would suggest what? That the booster shot should be the same or pwede ng iba?
Ang sa ngayon kasi, ang nakikita natin, kung ano yung available, no? And even if the Sinovac is the third dose, may data kasi na maganda rin ang protection with third dose of the Sinovac. So kung baga, kung ano yung available, kasi we're also dependent on the limited number of the vaccination, no? Alam naman natin, no, and I fully agree na mas importante pa rin mabakunahan yung hindi pa nabakunahan rather than giving the booster, no. That's just our findings na if ever there will be a supply and pwede nating mabakunahan ang mga healthcare workers, we will only restrict the booster to the healthcare workers, especially healthcare workers who are really front lines, who are in COVID referral centers, no? So, ito lang yung nakikita namin.
Apo, Doc, a quick, just a quick review of terms lang. Kasi karamihan ng mga kababayan natin, alam niyo naman, Sinovac ang shots namin, di ba? Parang, so, but when you say breakthrough, pakiulit lang po, when you say breakthrough infection, it just means na nag-positive ka, di ba? But most,
yes.
Sige, go ahead po.
Okay, pag sinabing breakthrough infection, you receive that full 2 dose of a bakuna, and then 14 days after the second dose, no? That's the time that you'll count. Kung magka-infection ka, from the time after receiving the second dose, 14 days after, any infection from that day and so on, that's considered an infection or a breakthrough infection.
Kahit asymptomatic ka, di ba? Kahit asymptomatic, kahit mild.
Yes, as long as kung nag-positive ka, mild symptoms, that can still be a breakthrough infection.
Okay.
Ang sabi ni FDA chief, mga 242 lang daw ang nare-record na those breakthrough infections. So, anong masasabi niyong message sa mga tao? Kasi yung ibang mga anti-vaxxers, ginagamit siya
this is the experience in the ground, no? And I have to really reiterate this, no? The difference between having severe critical COVID is unvaccinated versus vaccinated. Anong ibig sabihin yan? Pag wala kang bakuna, chances are when you develop COVID, when you had COVID, you will be having the severe and critical. At nakikita na natin dito sa mga data natin, no, sa mga hospital, even less than 60 years old, we have 25, 30 years old, walang comorbidities, still develop a severe form of COVID. Ano ang common findings? Walang bakuna.
Yung recommendation niyo, gave it to the IATF or which body na na i-vaccinate yung mga frontliners?
Actually, pinag-usapan na yan sa Department of Health and ginagawa na nila yan ngayon, no? So sila naman, Department of Health naman talaga ang final say, no? Kami is only recommendatory based on what is our finding. Kung sasabihin na hindi muna, no problem with us, no? Kung ang priority pa rin natin bakunahan lahat and later na yung booster after siguro next year na ba yun, ano? Walang problema sa amin, no? Walang problema. We are not against them, no? We are one in this program of vaccination.
Doc, tanungin ko kayo ng politika, kasi alam niyo naman, tumatakbo na kayo. Meron na tayong mga official presidential candidate, meron ng official vice presidential candidate, dadagdag yan, and more, nahahati na yung chiefs, hindi na parating COVID. Now we have to talk about the elections. What questions should we be asking in terms of, in the new normal, as we prepare for not just for COVID, but for future pandemics? What should we be asking the presidential candidates?
How to strengthen our infrastructure, our system, that we should be prepared in the next pandemic. Okay, napaka-importante ang mga leaders natin na they are into that mindset, no, na developing a healthcare system that is ready against any pandemic, no. They have to prioritize, no, ang health. And we need an infrastructure, a system, no? Na hindi na tayo pabalik-balik doon, kukuha tayo ng playbook. The playbook is the same, no? 2000, I was in the SARS-CoV-1, naranasan ko na yon. 2000, then after that, ilang mga outbreak na. The same lang yan, no? Ang nangyari lang, iba't ibang administration, iba't ibang implementation, iba't ibang priority, no? So hopefully, no, this is a lesson learned from all of us, no, and the leader should really be progressive in terms of building a health system that is what we call pandemic proof.
Kaya lang, Doc, sasabihin ko na sa inyo, progressive lahat ng sagot nila eh. Of course, everybody will already say, di ba? So alam na natin kung ano gusto niyo itanong, idiretso na natin. Ano po dapat isagot nila? I mean, and how do we know kung wala sila actually nasagot kahit ang haba-haba ng sagot nila? What are some specific things that is basic that they should understand?
Yeah, they have to be specific kung ano man yung programa nila sa health, no? I know they will always answer generic, but they have to be specific. Halimbawa, kung sa prevention, ano ang priority? Bakuna, infrastructure, building more hospital that will cater. We need numbers. We need important numbers that can really accountable sila when they will be elected and when they will be in the position. No? So importante talaga na merong health program sila na sustainable at the same time that can really serve the people. Na hindi lang yung dahil because I'm a politician. It should be sustainable enough that even for the next generation, for the next leaders, nandyan yan. We see that in other countries like the CDC in the US, no? At saka yung sa UK. Maski nag-change sila ng leader, nandun na ang system. No need to change it. Kasi built in na.
Okay, yung CDC, ginagawa na yan ngayon. Nasa Congress na yan. Ang problema kaya natin nung mga 2000, yung SARS kasi hindi tayo masyadong tinamaan. Ngayon lang nangyari itong ganito kalala talaga yung infection. And be more specific about what you want to see dito sa mga darating na taon by way of health response, public health, hindi lang, kahit hindi ganito katinding pandemic, yung general public health response.
Ami, ang gusto ko talaga, no, as an infectious disease, no, tatayo tayo ng vaccination development center. Kasi alam mo, nandito lahat ng vaccine preventable diseases sa Pilipinas, no? Lahat ng mga infection na mayroong bakuna, hindi tayo gumagawa, umaangkat tayo no? So we have that technical expertise. We have people who can really handle that. I think it's just a matter of really aligning our priority on that, no? So sa akin na on a short list, we have to build that. We have to build a central laboratory, no? And not necessarily isang laboratory lang, different branches of laboratory that can really diagnose, no, mga viruses, emerging infections. Importante ang diagnostics, importante din ang bakuna. We can start with that, no? Yung mga capacity naman to admit, yung increase mo yung bed capacity, madali lang naman gagawin yan, no? Depende naman yan sa ano. But these are the two important infrastructure, no? Ability to diagnose, dapat maganda yung diagnostic center natin, centralized. Then you have to have a vaccination development center.
I mean, Doctor, in the past months, I mean, sa totoo lang, it's been an alphabet soup of different committees, task forces, and so on, di ba? NTF, COVID, IATF, meron ding mga sa alphabet soup na yan, meron ding mga institutionalized na, RITM, and so on. So we're learning on. But I'm just wondering, through all our experience through COVID, what are the things that should be institutionalized na hindi pa institutionalized? Things that we now take for granted but are in reality still ad hoc? And what are the things that you will also remind people, ito, huwag kayo mag-alala, ito institutionalized na yung infrastructure na yan?
Yeah. That's a good point, Robby, no? Kasi every time may pandemic tayo, gagawa tayo ng committee, mga ad hoc, iba-ibang ano, tapos another committee, no? So I think for me, we need to have that parang central response na committee na that will really take care of all this response, no? And I think it's not just the OH, they should also partner with the NGO kasi nandito rin sa NGO ang mga bright minds na pwedeng tutulong, no? Department of Health can also tap other people, no? I think yun lang yung sigurong nakikita ko, no? Yung mga meron dapat tayong permanent response committee sa pandemic na maski palitan ng tao pero nandiyan na yung mga position na yan, and then it should be centralized, and then at the same time there should be branches different regions and it should be functional. Okay.
Sir, let me ask you naman about excuse me, about the budget, specifically budget para sa bakuna for 2022, for next year, kasi it is budget season ngayon. It turned out earlier in the week na yung budget ng DOH for 2022, walang nakaprogram na budget for vaccines. Ang sabi ng DOH, uutangan na lang natin yon. That's one. Number two, merong unprogrammed na 45 billion budget for booster shots next year. Ibig sabihin po ng unprogrammed na funds, ilalabas lamang yan kung mag-exceed ng revenue collection targets na medyo malabo naman, especially at this point. So parang hindi na paglaanan ng pera masyado. Hindi ko alam kung nasa priority yung paglabas ng pera for vaccines for next year. And this is going to be a regular thing, I suppose. I mean, at least so far.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Ed. No, sorry, I'm not privy about the budget, no, kasi hindi ko naman linya yan, no. Pero that's one thing na yung narinig ko na rin yan, yung unprogrammed budget na kung meron lang tayong excess doon sa revenue. Yeah. So ang una kong ang comment dyan, paano kung walang excess? We have been in this pandemic for almost 1 year, and
Pagsakong collections natin.
Yeah. So kumbaga saan natin kukunin yan, no? So I think isa din yan siguro. I know there are people who are doing good naman in the Department of Health na talagang ginagawa naman talaga yung tama siguro.
But speaking of the budget, yung recently nga, di ba, sa congressional hearing, lumabas yun na parang bakit bumaba yung allocation for next year, particularly for healthcare workers. And basically, if I understood correctly, Secretary Duque was saying, well, to make a long story short, mali yung premise. We assumed that by this time, medyo pababa na, huhupa na yung pandemic. How did that happen?
Yeah. So I'm going to speak based on science, huh? Okay. If they predict that this pandemic will slow down next year, that's a good outlook, no? But if I'm going to give my comment on that, the mutations alone is a big uncertainty. Why this pandemic will not just stop by next year, no? And why vaccination will be an important component of prevention, because as long as there is transmission, as long as there are cases, there will always be mutations, and we will have to change a vaccine that will be effective against that mutated virus. And that's what's happening now, no? Hinahabol natin, the Delta variant reduces the efficacy of some vaccines ng konti. That's why we need another dose. Paano kung another mutation that will also reduce the efficacy? Then we need another dose. We really need to set some things na hindi lang dahil may bakuna na, bababa na ang kaso. At this point, we need to have a mindset na if ever this will not be controlled by this quarter, then this will be the things that we need to do moving forward. So for me, sorry, napaka-grim ng outlook ko, pero I hope I'm wrong.
But in fact, that's what the World Health Organization is also saying. Saka kahit sa US, yung mga health expert, kasi hirap na hirap sila ngayon mag-contain ng Delta. So you think this virus will behave like the flu virus na, well, of course, it's deadlier, but will we be needing possibly annual shots?
Okay lang sana yung annual shot amin, no? Pag mag-mutate siya ng major mutation, baka hindi pang annual, baka every 6 months magbabakuna tayo. No, yun ang hirap sa mga ganitong klaseng mutations, no? Dahil talagang there will always come a time that when it will mutate, the more it mutate, the more it will become resistant to treatment or even more virulent.
Kaya hindi pwedeng walang pera.
Yes, precisely, correct.
Are you looking at any new vaccines? Kasi may mga bagong dinidevelop pa ang ibang bansa, di ba? Yung mga medyo na-delay ang release. And apart from India, India is also medyo advanced na yung kanila. But other countries are developing their own. Are you looking at other vaccines for the Philippines?
Yes, maraming bakuna na still in the second phase or third phase, no, na mga second, ang tawag natin yan, mga second generation vaccines that are more or less effective against the variants of concern, no? So kaya lang wala pa, hindi pa yan available siguro in the next few months, no, kasi they need to do additional studies on that.
Kasi yung sa Pfizer daw, it's not actually a booster. It's a different shot na siya. Di ba?
Yeah. It's not a booster. Ang tawag nga nila, it's a third shot, no? We call that a third shot. Ibig sabihin, nangangailangan ka ng third shot to maintain the efficacy or yung antibody ng isang bakuna para lang makumpleto ang protection.
Yung third shot na yon is not yet covered by their full approval, di ba? It will need a new type of approval from their FDA. Kasi yung
Yes.
Commercial na di ba? We can buy na
Actually, it's the same formulation, no? Yung ginagawa nila, but ang nangyari lang, they're giving third shot to the immunocompromised, no? At saka yung population nila na who already received the second dose, and 8 months after, they're giving the third shot. Kasi may mga data naman na even with that vaccine, tumataas pa rin yung neutralizing antibody. Kaya pa nating supuin ang Delta, no? Even with this mga pero kailangan lang talaga na with that vaccine, mas mataas talaga ang antibody mong level para lang to overcome the Delta variant.
Doc, can I ask you something that Mayor Isko Moreno said the other day, no? Never mind yung pasaring niya sa Pangulo, but sinabi niya, bumili na kayo ng mga kailangan namin. And he mentioned a couple of drugs, medications, basically really not even dropping a hint, saying may shortage na, nagkakaubusan na dito. As a hospital administrator, can you talk about that? Kamusta po ang mga supply, particularly ng mga drugs na kailangan natin to fight that the people who are already in the hospital need?
Okay, ganito yan, no? There are 3 drugs, no, that we use for severe critical, no? Yung una yung steroids, tapos yung remdesivir, tapos yung tocilizumab. And lately, meron tayong fourth, yung tinatawag natin na baricitinib, no? Now, ang nagkaubusan ngayon is the tocilizumab. Tocilizumab, para sa mga nakikinig, is an anti-inflammatory drug, no? So ito yung nakakatulong para humupa yung inflammation sa katawan ng merong COVID, no? So it can really help, no? May mga data na na reduce ang mortality kumpara doon sa walang tocilizumab. The shortage of tocilizumab is global, hindi lang sa Pilipinas, no? Because the one that is manufacturing it, talagang hindi na sila makakope up doon sa production because of the demand from different countries. So that's given, no? So that's the problem of the company. So there are mga companies that are doing it, making it, mga generic companies like India and Pakistan, but their supply is also being siphoned by India because mas mataas pa rin ang kaso nila doon, no? So these are mga gamot na if you will be in a hospital, you have to project na you have these drugs at least 3 months buffer ang supply mo. Kasi anytime kung may mga surge of cases, malaking bagay at malaking tulong to.
May buffer pa po ba?
Yun ang wala.
And when do we expect that? For example, sa TOSI, when do we expect that to be replenished?
The global shortage will still be until ang estimate ng manufacturing company will be December or January na makaka-normalize sila ng supply, no? In how many months? 3 months kang walang ganun, and that's something that we're facing now.
But just to be clear, we are running out or have already run out. When do we expect the supply of these in this particular case yung sa TOSI? When do we expect it to last? And then expecting na sa December pa magno-normalize?
Wala nang mga TOSI ngayon, Robbie. Wala na, no? Sabihin ko lang, mayroon mga black market. Hindi ko nga alam kung saan nakukuha ang mga black market, no? So, ibig kong sabihin, majority of our patients sa mga hospital ngayon, we're not giving any more TOSI kasi ang hirap humanap ng tocilizumab. So what we offer now, we give is the remdesivir, the steroids, and the baricitinib.
Okay.
Walang substitute doon. Yung mga Chinese medicine, hindi ba pwede yon?
Ay, hindi natin ginagamit yan, Ami. Walang data yon about COVID.
At saka linawin lang po natin yung ivermectin, hindi replacement for anything, ano?
Yes, Robby, no. Remind lang natin, it's not a drug that we use for patients with severe COVID.
Marami pa rin gumagamit ng ivermectin, doctor, ha? As a prophylactic. They take it twice a month. What can you say about that?
Ito lang sasabihin ko, marami kami mga pasyente na ka-ivermectin nandito pa rin sa hospital, severe and critical.
Oh dear.
Okay. Well, in any case, we'll have to end there. But I guess, again, just a reminder to everyone, bakuna pa rin po. If you can get your vaccine, it is still the best and most important thing you can do. And on that note, Dr. Ronjin Solante, sir, maraming salamat po.
Thank you everyone.
Yung mga banat niyo po sa mga presidentiable, paabot natin.
Thank you, doctor.
Okay, that will be all for this special edition of The Cheese, but we hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Before we go, a reminder to everyone, mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines, get vaccinated. I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
I'm Ed Lingao, and we are One News.